I'm Caden, here with my brother,
Cal,
and you're listening to Eating W's.
eat the W.
That's a W. Let's eat one. Let's eat one. That's a W.
So, on today's episode of Eating W's, we have our predictions for the top 10 running back duos in the NFL. Now, 2 weeks ago, before the bye week, we talked about that we'd be doing this episode when we did our top 10 receiver trios. So now we're moving down to running back duos, and next week will be our final week before we kind of start transitioning into the actual season and preseason, and it will be our prediction for top 10 quarterbacks. But this week we got those good old running back duos, and this was, of course, another super fun one to do. But before we actually jump into anything, I'll let Callan talk a little bit about the Packers training camps. Talk about what he did during the bye
training camp there was fun. Got a couple autographs. Got the long snapper autograph, Jack Coco. So that's always good to get. Most important position.
Of course, all the specialists.
I liked what I saw the first couple of days. I only saw 2 practices, but I saw really good work from the offense. Rashawn Gary and Preston Smith looked like they were in mid-season form. There was a couple times where they had sacks on Rodgers, where obviously no contact on the quarterback, but the play was blown dead. But otherwise, I really liked what I saw of the wide receivers. Romeo Doubs made a couple of back shoulder catches that I haven't seen since a different 87 was in Green Bay. And then, of course, the guy I've been talking about, Jawan Winfrey, made a really deep, it was like 50-yard touchdown catch out of a streak. So a couple of the young receivers really stepping up. Alan Lazard had a number of first down plays. I didn't see him get any touchdowns, but he had a number of catches on first downs. So just really good work. Like what I saw, it was only 2 days, so you take it with a grain of salt, but
It's always nice to see those nerve-wracking positions play out well.
Mm-hmm.
I really like Romeo Doubs out of Nevada. I thought you guys got him out of Steele late in the draft.
Yeah, he's really showing out to be a pretty good pickup so far.
Was Watson there at all?
Nope, he didn't play. He started on the PUP list.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure.
He was there, but he didn't. He only worked with the rehab group.
Awesome. Cool to hear. And another fun thing before we jump into the running back predictions, we actually have a good amount of news this week, which is something we haven't had in a while. So we'll run through that quick, starting off with a few extensions. First of all, the Cardinals gave quarterback Kyler Murray a 5-year, $230.5 million extension with $160 guaranteed. So good for Kyler getting paid. I don't know if that was exactly the right move by the Cardinals in my personal opinion, but we'll see if that big money...
As long as he's watching film.
Yep, as long as he's doing his homework, watching his film, that's all he needs, He's got to stay off Xbox. That's why they gave him that homework provision. But overall, we'll see if that big money deal pays off for them. Next up, a couple of receivers. We got the Seattle Seahawks, and DK Metcalf gets a 3-year, $73 million extension, including a whopping $30 million signing bonus. So wouldn't that be nice to get $30 million just for putting your signature on a paper, but great there. And then finally, Deebo Samuel signs a 3-year, $73.5 million deal. Just had to get ahead of Metcalf there with the 49ers, with over 58 of that being guaranteed money. So lots of big deals happening within the past few days.
Both NFC West wide receivers.
Yeah.
And both former trade prospects.
Yeah, so they both stay locked in. No trades for either of those guys. And then moving on to a couple of signings, both Julio Jones and Kyle Rudolph are joining the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on a 1-year deal. And at this point, the average age of that team has to be like mid-30s, bro. Like, it is just insane how many veterans they have on that team.
It's probably the oldest average age that an NFL team has had. If it's not the oldest, it's got to be close.
It's got to be pushing. It's at least got to be the current oldest, if not like history books type
Any
stuff.
team with Brady, I think, becomes the oldest.
Exactly. You got Brady up there at 45 pulling that average up right off the bat, and then all of these guys joining now. It's got to be crazy. And then finally, in a little bit of kind of sad news, to be honest, Seahawks running back Chris Carson has officially retired after 5 seasons due to a pretty bad neck injury. Now, luckily, he got a huge injury payout from the Seahawks, so it's good to see them doing well by him at least. But nevertheless, it really sucks to see a good player like Chris Carson have to quit early due to injuries. You just hate to see it, you really do.
It's an unfortunate part of the game, but
Yep. And then finally, Deshaun Watson, this is just new news this morning, we are recording this on Monday the 1st, gets a 6-game suspension. Now it's looking like the NFL will appeal that and try to get more, but for now, the number is set at 6 games, and Jacoby Brissett will be the starter week 1 for the Cleveland Browns.
they're applying for a re-spin of the wheel.
Exactly.
They want another spin added.
They were not satisfied with the wheel of suspensions. The NFL was not. So they are looking to get a little more, hoping for maybe the death penalty is probably what they're going for. Because you got to imagine how crazy the NFL wheel of suspension is. It's on there somewhere in the small writing. But
Which I don't get why. Watson's one of your big superstars.
exactly.
Why would the NFL want him to be out for
Usually
this
when
many
you
games?
get those money makers, the
Yeah.
NFL protects them. But
I mean, let him pay the price. Let him do his time. The wheel gave him 6 games. Obey the wheel.
obey the wheel. That's the new catchphrase for our podcast. Obey the wheel. But now that we are done with the news, we will move on to our top 10 list. So, Callan, I will let you take it first with the honorable mention.
We'll start out with the honorable mention, and I got to give it to the Dallas Cowboys because Zeke and Tony Pollard are 2 of the best young running backs in the NFL. It's just, how many times have I said it? Mike McCarthy does not know how to coach running backs. Even with these talented guys, they still rank in one of the lowest rankings in running backs. And, he had to give them the honorable mention just off of talent alone. But if they had a better coach there in Dallas, I think these guys would be even higher.
Yeah, I like Zeke. He had a little bit of a down year last year, but I think Tony Pollard is going to end up kind of eclipsing him this year just because Mike McCarthy, as you mentioned, and I totally agree with, does not know how to use true running backs, so he kind of prefers those more receiving back guys, which Pollard is. So, jumping over to my honorable mention, I'm going to keep it consistent with last week, and in my honorable mention, I'm going to put the running back duo that has the most potential. I think the biggest potential to boom this year is the New York Jets with Breece Hall, the rookie this year, and also Michael Carter, the rookie last year. So 2 very young guys and 2 kind of similar play styles, but 2 guys who I really think could blow up this year. And all of that young Jets offense has a really good chance to be good this year. Zach Wilson, Elijah Moore. It's just crazy to see that many young guys looking good on a team. So that is my honorable mention, and the team I think will have the biggest upside this year. So now we will jump to number 10.
For my number 10, I got the Jacksonville Jaguars with James Robinson and Travis Etienne. Now, James Robinson is one of the lead backers in the NFL, and even though he wasn't used like one last year, I think this year will prove that he is one of those true lead backs. And then you got Etienne as an X factor, who didn't really play at all last year because of injury, but he is super talented. He was a first-round pick, and I think he'll team well with James Robinson. And he also had that chemistry with Trevor Lawrence coming out of Clemson. So,
and I'll just transition right into talking about him too, because I also have the Jacksonville Jaguars as my number 10 spot. Because with them, you just get that perfect 1-2 punch. James Robinson is just a little bowling ball of a guy, kind of like Maurice Jones-Drew in the older Jacksonville days, where he's just going to run you over, he's going to get those yards. And then you get Etienne, who I am so excited to see what he will do this season. As Cal mentioned, he already has some of that rapport with the team and Trevor Lawrence, especially with them both being from Clemson. And sadly, we didn't get to see him last year, so I will be really, really happy to see what he is able to do. So now we will jump straight into number 9.
For my number 9, I take from your honorable mention, and I got the New York Jets here at number 9. Where, it's kind of the same deal with the Jaguars as the Jets. You got Michael Carter as the lead back. I think he's going to really prove it this year that he's going to be one of the top backs in the NFL. They got Breece Hall then to back him up and be the part of that duo. And I just got the sense that Carter and Hall will be a much more better duo than James Robinson and Etienne. So I think Robinson will be more of a every down back.
I agree. I could see them really using those guys interchangeably, which is really good, because then you get 2 fresh set of legs at any given time instead of just 1 when you kind of have a breather back. So I really like that system there. And jumping to my number 9, I have none other than the Green Bay Packers. Now, Aaron Jones, of course, just overall a really good running back. Even as a Vikings fan, I won't dispute it. He's very versatile no matter where you put him. And then I kind of have him a little low on my list because I think A.J. Dillon is really good as well, but he's very one-dimensional in my opinion. And don't get me wrong, he's very good at that one dimension. But that one dimension, of course, being a power back and just a bowling ball of a man. When you have a nickname like the Quad Fathers, like the Quad Father, and you have quads the size of A.J. Dillon, it's hard to do anything but run people over. So, nothing against him exactly. I love a power back that's just going to truck through anybody in his way. But in today's league, people just kind of have found ways to get around that, whether through cutting or just a variation of stuff. So that's kind of why I have them a little lower on my list.
So moving on to number
8.
Number 8, my bad.
You're good.
Got tied up there. Number 8, I got the Detroit Lions with DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams. Now this is a more dynamic duo than the other two, which is why I have them a little bit higher on this list. Either one of these guys could be the starter, Swift or Jamal Williams, and both of them did start multiple times last year. So as I just have them as a higher rank than the other two because of the duo factor in it. That's kind of how I rank these, is who's the best duo. I mean, other guys might be better because they have a better lead back, but I tried to kind of group these guys together as one in these rankings.
The Detroit Lions personally did not crack my top 10, but I do really like these two guys. I'm a huge fan of DeAndre Swift ever since he came out of Georgia back in 2020, and these guys just play off of each other so well. Jamal Williams is a much more traditional running back. He's going to be that between the tackles type guys. And then DeAndre Swift is going to be able to push the field horizontally in those outside zones, and he's also great out of the backfield. So I just really like the way these two guys mesh. So moving on to my number 8, I have kind of a shocker with how low they are, probably, but I have the Minnesota Vikings way down here at number 8. Now, it is just so unarguable at this point that Dalvin Cook is an amazing running back no matter what he's doing. But Alexander Mattison, I hope he can show me more as the years go on. Now, I'm not going to say he's done bad in his spot starts and stuff like that, but he just hasn't done exactly as much as I hope he would. He stepped up when he needed to, but he hasn't done much more than that. Both of his main spot starts last year were against the Lions, who had a very struggling run defense. So though he had very good games against them, it wasn't a real true test of what he can do. So I could easily see the Vikings moving up this list as the year goes on if Cook can stay healthy and Mattison can step up when he needs to. But for now, I have him here, and another big reason for that is I see us going to a much more pass-heavy offense and not using running backs as much, which will not exactly affect the talent that they have, but will affect kind of the stats a little bit. So for now, I have them down here, but I think and hope that they will move up as the year goes on.
I really believe that Cook's one of the top running backs in the NFL, so I think that should just put him higher, just based on that alone.
Yep, I could see it happening. I hope so. But for now, we'll jump to number 7.
For number 7, I got the New Orleans Saints with Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram. And I mean, this duo, this guys have been together longer than anyone. I mean, they've been a duo for what, 10 years now, roughly?
Well, you know, Mark Ingram went away for a little bit.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But yeah, and then,
in Baltimore.
but ever since Kamara was drafted back in 17, it's pretty much
I guess
been
not
them
quite 10 years, but
because even
it
when
feels like 10 years.
Even when Ingram was gone, you know those guys were still friends. They were still buddies, still talking.
They were still together.
And they are back together now.
So this duo, Kamara is obviously the star of the team there, receiving and running, and then Ingram has been that power back for him for years. And we'll just see if he can really keep that up and sustain his effectiveness. But I think that he will, and that's why I got them ranked at number 7.
Yeah, like I talked about with the Lions, I really like the way these two guys mesh and play off of each other. But, Kamara had that injury trouble last year. Ingram's getting a little older. These guys personally aren't even much near my top 10, but I can still see why you put them there for sure. So now we can jump on to number 6. Or no, I did not do my number 7.
Number 7.
We will not do number 6 yet. We will
Not
stay
yet.
here at number 7. And I will go on with the Houston Texans. Now, maybe a little bit of a shocker here, but if you look at the guys they picked up over the offseason to help that offense out and help the young Davis Mills out, that offense overall is going to be much better. But looking specifically at the running back position, they picked up Marlon Mack, who I think is going to have a total breakout year this year. Back in 2017, when he got his chance with the Colts, he played really well, and they just kind of let him fade away a little bit, which really surprised me. And now he's been stuck behind Jonathan Taylor and Naheem Hines these past few years. So I think now that he is truly that marquee back, I think he's going to step up and play huge. And then I really like the way he works with Rex Burkhead, because one thing Marlon Mack did struggle with a little bit was that power between the tackles, and Rex Burkhead is perfect for that because he is willing to get in there. He is willing to do that dirty work when they need the yards. So I think this will be a perfect duo there in Houston for a young quarterback like Davis Mills.
Yeah, I think that's pretty high for those two. For a team that's kind of just a ragtag group of guys that were all brought together. That's number 7. Wow.
2025 Super Bowl contenders. I'm telling you, man. It's
Well, we're only talking about 22, but I guess you got to work your way up the rankings.
You got to start somewhere. So now we will actually jump to number 6.
So for my number 6, I got the Cincinnati Bengals, which might be kind of low here for these guys, but I got them here because, I mean, Mixon is an every down back. I think that he's really good. I think that he's one of the stars of the team. And you got a solid backup in Samaje Perine, but I just don't think that he's that perfect piece to complement Mixon. He is good enough to kind of hold over, but I think that they could really improve in that backup running back spot.
Yeah, I really like Samaje Perine, but these guys didn't really make it much near my top 10 because I totally agree Mixon is super good. But Samaje Perine, they need to get more of like a third down back receiving type guy for their backup, because Samaje Perine is pretty much just like a Goodwill Joe Mixon, if we're being that honest. They're very similar running backs, and Joe Mixon is just better at doing what they do. So not a great duo there in my opinion, but overall Joe Mixon is really good, so definitely pulls them up a little bit. And for my number 6, I have another of a little bit of a shocker. I have the New England Patriots with Damian Harris and I said Samaje P right now, and Ramondre Stevenson. Now, Ramondre Stevenson was a rookie last year who got drafted pretty late in the 2021 draft. So nobody really expected much from him, and he stepped up and played really well there in New England with fellow rookie Mac Jones. And then Damian Harris has been there for a few years now and kind of established himself. So if he can stay healthy this year, he runs really well and is just a versatile guy when he gets his chances there in New England. And another nice thing for both of these guys is Belichick has shown that he is willing to stick with the run game through thick and thin. Great example is that Bills game last year in the snow when they had upwards of 40 rushing attempts. They only had 3 total passing attempts with Mac Jones, and they pick up a win against one of the best teams in the AFC with the Buffalo Bills.
That was such a fluke game.
That was such a crazy game, but it shows that they can be committed to the run game if they want to. So that's why I have them pretty high up here in my rankings.
I just could never trust a Belichick running back tandem. I mean, he just uses too many moving parts. You're going to end up at least one game this season where they have a lead running back where no one's ever heard of him.
That's true. It does happen a lot, but that also happened a lot with Brady. And now they have to kind of switch up their game plan a little bit because they don't have Brady and those elite wide receivers that they had in the past. So that's why I think they might move up a little bit. But for now, we'll jump on to number 5.
Number 5, I got the Tennessee Titans with basically Derrick Henry just kind of by himself here. You got Hassan Haskins as a backup for him, who was a late round draft pick. But the Titans are basically here because Derrick Henry is one of the top running backs in the NFL. He has been for the last few years, and he will be, and he will continue to be. What more can you say about him? The only reason he's not higher is because he doesn't really have a partner in crime. But I think that Haskins is a good fit for that team, but just too much of an unknown to really put him higher up.
Smooth transition right into me because I also have the Tennessee Titans at my number 5 spot. And pretty similar reason. Derrick Henry is just so goddamn good that he single-handedly brings him up that high. Now, as he gets older, he had a little bit of injury troubles last year. I don't think he's going to have quite as good as a season as he had 2 years ago when he had over 2,000 yards rushing, which isn't saying something crazy because that's really hard to recreate. But why I had them a little higher here is because I trust in Hassan Haskins. Now, he was one of the better running back prospects last year, in my opinion, or in this year's draft, rather, in the 2022 draft. But they got him as a late round out of Michigan. And my favorite thing about Hassan Haskins is he had the either second or third most bench rep presses overall. That's counting all offensive linemen, defensive linemen, tight end. I want to say he had like 30 bench rep presses at 225, which is just insane for a running back. So
muscle hamster.
Exactly, but he's still got that tall. He's lengthy too, and he's got those long legs. So he is a little Derrick Henry in training. So I could see a smooth transition in the future from Henry to Haskins. So that's why I have them a little higher here, and I think Haskins will kind of get a chance as the season goes on to prove himself a little bit. So now we will jump to number 4.
For number 4, I got the Indianapolis Colts with JT, Jonathan Taylor, and Nyheim Hines. And I think that Jonathan Taylor is the best young running back in the league. So, I mean, like, under, like, 24, 'cause I'm pretty sure he's 23.
Yeah, he's 23 or 24.
Yeah, so I think he's the best young running back in NFL. Still one of the top running backs in NFL overall. And they have a perfect third down running back in Nyheim Hines to complement him. Oops, I got tied up again, reading the wrong note. And because of that pair, that gets them up to number 4. That was what I was looking for.
Well, I'm not going to talk much about them because a little bit of a spoiler, I will be talking about them very soon. So I'm just going to jump into my number 4 with probably the biggest shock value out of my whole thing, but something I really believe in. Up here, way at number 4, I have the Seattle Seahawks. Now, I know that sounds crazy considering we were just a little bit ago talking about how Chris Carson retired. So now you look at their running back room and you see the two big names being Rashad Penny and this year, a 2022 rookie, Kenneth Walker Jr., or Kenneth Walker III, rather, out of Michigan State this year. And he is by far my favorite running back prospect this year from 2022. I think he is going to be an absolute beast in the league, and I think that the Seahawks got an absolute steal when they drafted him and knew what they were getting. And that's not even mentioning Rashad Penny, who is a total boom or bust guy.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to play together well just off the fact that when Penny is on a hot streak, they just run Penny all game and let him do what Rashad Penny does when he's on his hot streak. But when he has those cold days, when he has those total bust days, you let the rookie come in, Kenneth Walker, and get his reps and really show himself off. And I think he's going to step up big time as kind of that handcuff, I'll say, to use a fantasy term. But I think these guys will mesh really well together. And if you look at the offensive scheme around them, no Russ equals no pass. There's no way they're going to pass as much as they did when they had Russell Wilson, now that they have Drew Lock and Geno Smith. So we're going to see a lot more carries per game and a lot more opportunities for these young running backs.
Well, that is true. I didn't think about that in terms of the coaching style and how they are going to run the ball more. It is, I think, a good duo, but that is a really high ranking for a team with a lot of young running backs.
I'm banking on potential a little bit. I could see it happen. So now we'll move on to number 3.
For my number 3, I got the Cleveland Browns with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. And, I mean, these guys were number 1 last year. They're the perfect pair and complement each other. Stopping the run is going to be a new focal point now. So I have them a little lower this year just because of that. Because before, when you had Baker Mayfield, now Sean Watson, once he comes back, they'll be better. But when you got Jacoby Brissett starting for those first 6 games, they're going to be targeting the run on defense, and it's going to be difficult for them to get anything going, I believe.
That's a really good point. That's true. I didn't really think about that. But moving on to my number 3, I have the recently aforementioned Indianapolis Colts with Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines. Now, Callan said it pretty perfectly. Jonathan Taylor is the best young running back in the league, and one of the best running backs in the league, regardless of age, team, whatever. So he's just going to continue to dominate. Easy to say, easy to see. That offensive line, it is just set up so perfectly for him there. Even with the new quarterback, Matt Ryan, I think he will not miss a beat. And then you look at Nyheim Hines, and he is just, as Callan mentioned, the perfect third down back.
Mhm.
He'll come in, you can put him down, and it's probably going to be a pass when he's in there. But he's good enough out of the backfield that even when the defense knows it's going to be a pass, he can still usually kind of find those open lanes or open routes and still get those first downs. So you love to see it. You love to see a good tandem like that mesh as well. So that's why I have him way up here at 3.
These guys will be higher next year. I guarantee it.
I'd agree. I think I could easily see that. But for now, we'll jump to number 2.
For my number 2, I have the Minnesota Vikings because Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison, I believe, are a very good duo. And Dalvin Cook is, in my eyes, the best running back overall in the NFL. And because of that alone, that moves them up to number 2. Madison is he's a good duo guy. He's a good partner to have. I think that he did really good in his spot starts. I know you were kind of hard on him, but I liked what I saw out of it, and I think he's a great complement piece to Dalvin Cook.
He is a great breather guy. You can put him in for a few reps and let Cook get a breath and not really miss a beat even with him in there at running back. So that's a good point. I do really like that he's able to do that. And for my number 2, I have a team that I just realized isn't even on Callan's list. So that's kind of funny. But I have the Denver Broncos. Now, starting off, you look at them there, and they have the established Melvin Gordon. He's been in the league for a while now and has just continuously been not a dominant running back per se, but a very consistent guy and a guy that you can lean on in a game and you can establish a run around. And then now you have your change of pace bruiser and the young Javonte Williams, who absolutely broke out in his first year, in my opinion, and I think will continue that breakout in year 2. To a point where you see Javonte Williams being much more of a marquee back more than Melvin Gordon. But for this year, I see a pretty even 50-50 split, and I think that they are a great tandem. And I think that the Denver running game could be very good, especially now that they have Dangerous in there, kind of making defensive watch the pass before they watch the run, and then they'll be able to hit them by surprise with the run game.
And that's true. Everyone's so focused on that passing game now in Denver. No one really thinks about the running game, and they're just kind of too injury prone for me to put them up there. So that's why I don't have them on my list. Melvin Gordon, I don't think has had a full season, and Javonte Williams, though did good last year, didn't quite get it, sell it for me. So we'll see if they can improve on that running game.
So now we will jump to the big old number 1.
For my number 1, I will say that this is not a homer pick.
Sure.
But it is the Green Bay Packers. And I believe that they are the best duo overall in the NFL. You got Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, who are the only 2 running backs on the same team last year to go over 1,000 yards from scrimmage. So that is, in my eyes, makes them the best overall duo in the NFL.
You got a point there, but I don't know. It makes me a little nervous because you also had those games where Aaron Jones was injured and then A.J. Dillon was just getting full reps. So that's kind of where
and
a lot
he dominated.
of kids, he did do well, but that's a lot of where those yards of scrimmage came from. But
yeah.
Maybe I'm just arguing it because I'm opposite Homer on the other home over here, but it just makes me nervous to see that.
If you think I'm a homer this week, just wait till next week when we do quarterbacks.
Oh, God, of course. But moving on to my less homer-filled number 1, I have none other than the Cleveland Browns for the second year in a row. Now, we all know what we're getting with Nick Chubb. He is just going to be an absolute beast. He will run you over, and then the next play absolutely juke your ankles straight off your body. It is insane, some of the things Nick Chubb can do. And he's not even too shabby out of the backfield. But what really makes the Cleveland Browns duo the best in my eyes actually leans more on Kareem Hunt, because I love what he can do as a change of pace back, as a third down back. You can bring in Kareem Hunt on a 3rd and medium, like a 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, and there's just as much of a chance that you're not only going to run the ball, but get a first down with a run of actually passing the ball, because Kareem Hunt is just that versatile. So when you have that domination with that versatility, It just leads to a great running back tandem, whether the defense is ready for it or not. So I really like them there in Cleveland. And that is our list for our prediction for our top 10 running back duos in the 2022 NFL season. As Callan already mentioned a little bit, we will next week be doing our top 10 quarterback predictions, and then it'll pretty much be preseason at that point. Maybe one more week in between, but we will really be getting into the thick of things at that point. So,
Nope,
man,
the Hall
are
of
we
Fame
excited.
game is 2 weeks away.
Oh, that's so cool, man. That is so hype. So keep tuned here on Eating W's and make sure to keep a watch out for our next posted videos. But until next time, don't forget
To eat the W.